Welcome to Simo University Podcast, where science improves your decisions, sharpens your critical thinking, and guides you towards financial freedom. I am Landry Simo, a professor of finance in the UK, an expert in decision science and neuroeconomics. Today, we delve into a topic that affects every individual, every family, every community, but one that few people dare to speak about with such frankness and insight. The science of the education trap. Why school is teaching you to fail in life. Imagine for a moment that everything you learned in school, everything you believed in, everything you worked so hard to achieve might actually be the greatest obstacle to your success. What if I told you that the educational system, supposedly designed to prepare you to face the world, is in fact designed to keep you in a loop of conformity and mediocrity? That instead of lifting you up, school programs you to fail? I know that coming from a professor, this might seem shocking, or at least surprising. But believe me, this podcast episode will shake your certainties, open your eyes to hidden truths, and give you neuroscientific keys to deprogram this failure and reprogram your success. We will explore how the current educational system, by focusing on memorization rather than understanding, by favoring conformity over creativity, and by neglecting essential emotional skills, prepares you more to follow than to lead, to obey than to innovate. Did you know that the most crucial skills for succeeding in life, critical thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence, are the least developed by our traditional educational system? And what about the psychological impact of repeated academic failures on your self-esteem and motivation? We will dissect this through the lens of neuroscience and decision science. But don't worry, this episode is not just a harsh critique of the educational system. It is a source of hope and solutions. We will show you how, thanks to the latest discoveries in neuroscience, you can reprogram your brain to overcome these obstacles and transform every failure into an opportunity. You will learn practical techniques to develop your critical thinking, strengthen your emotional intelligence, and unleash your creativity. We will discuss innovative approaches that can transform your view of education and give you the tools to succeed in real life. And as always, we will rely on rigorous scientific studies and concrete examples to illustrate my points. So, prepare yourself for a mental revolution, because what you will discover in this episode might forever change the way you see education and your future, and even the future of your children, or future children if you have them, or plan to have them. In the first part of this episode, I will give you the fundamental reasons why education is a catalyst for failure. And in the second part, as usual, you will have techniques and tips based on the latest advances in decision science, neuroscience, and psychology. So, stay with me until the end, because the secrets I'm going to reveal could be the key to your financial freedom and personal fulfillment, and that of your loved ones, as I invite you not to keep to yourself everything you will learn in this episode. Join me in my ultimate mission to improve lives and unlock destinies. Without further ado, let's begin this fascinating exploration of the science of the education trap. Let's talk about the traditional educational system. To understand the problems posed by our educational system, it is crucial to trace back to the origins of this system and explore its initial objectives. Modern education, as we know it, was largely shaped in the 19th century during the Industrial Revolution. At that time, the main goal of education was to prepare young people to enter the industrial workforce. This meant training workers capable of following instructions, performing repetitive tasks, and adhering to a strict hierarchy. In other words, education primarily aimed at conformity and standardization. But why is this problematic today? Well, the world has radically changed since the 19th century. We have shifted from an industrial economy to an information and innovation economy, where critical thinking, creativity, and adaptability are essential skills. However, the educational system has not evolved at the same pace. It continues to prioritize memorization and conformity at the expense of the skills needed to succeed in the modern world. Let's take the example of John, a brilliant student in mathematics. From an early age, John excels in exams that assess his ability to memorize and repeat mathematical formulas. He gets exceptional grades and is often praised by his teachers. However, when he enters university, Jean finds himself confronted with complex problems that require critical thinking and practical application of mathematical concepts. He then realizes that although he has memorized many formulas, he struggles to apply them in real-life situations. Jean begins to doubt his abilities, which affects his self-confidence and motivation. This problem of the gap between memorization and deep understanding is not unique to Jean. It is rooted in the educational system itself. Standardized exams and traditional assessment methods emphasize students' ability to memorize information and regurgitate it during exams. This primarily activates the neural circuits associated with short-term memory. In contrast, deep understanding engages more complex and durable neural networks, thus promoting long-term retention and application of knowledge. Another problematic aspect of the traditional educational system is its uniform approach to teaching. Students are often treated as homogeneous entities with little consideration for their individual talents, interests, or unique learning styles. This approach can be particularly harmful to students with creative talents or atypical skills who may feel marginalized or undervalued. Let's take the example of Marie, a young girl passionate about art and music. At school, Marie is constantly reprimanded for her lack of interest in traditional academic subjects. Her artistic talents are neither recognized nor encouraged. As a result, Marie develops low self-esteem and begins to believe that she has no value in the educational system. It is only when she leaves school and finds a mentor in the artistic field that Marie realizes her potential and begins to flourish. Marie's story illustrates how the educational system can stifle unique talents and discourage innovation. Neuroscience shows that learning based on understanding and practical application activates broader and more complex neural networks. This promotes better retention of information and an increased ability to apply knowledge in various contexts. In contrast, rote memorization primarily engages short-term neural circuits, which explains why many students quickly forget what they have learned after exams. Moreover, the current educational system does not adequately prepare students to face the challenges of the modern world. Critical thinking, problem solving, and emotional intelligence skills are often neglected in favor of rote learning. Yet these skills are essential to navigate an ever-changing world and to succeed in complex and diverse professional environments. Let's talk about critical thinking and problem solving. Critical thinking and problem solving are essential skills that enable individuals to navigate complex situations, make informed decisions, and innovate. Yet our educational system does not develop them sufficiently. Imagine Claire, a brilliant student who always succeeds in her exams by memorizing her lessons. She graduates with honors and quickly lands a job in a large company. However, when faced with complex problems at work, she feels lost. Claire realizes that she has never learned to think critically or solve problems creatively. This gap hinders her professional growth. Neuroscience shows that critical thinking and problem solving activate the prefrontal cortex, a region of the brain associated with decision-making, planning, and analytical thinking. When students are simply trained to memorize information, this region of the brain is underutilized. In contrast, when they are encouraged to think critically and solve complex problems, their cognitive abilities are strengthened. Let's talk about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and manage one's own emotions, as well as to recognize and influence the emotions of others. It is crucial for success in both personal and professional life, yet it is largely neglected in our educational system. Let's take the example of Mark, a young graduate who excels in technical skills but struggles to collaborate with his colleagues. He often feels stressed and unable to manage conflicts at work. Mark realizes that he lacks emotional intelligence, which limits his ability to thrive in his professional environment. Research in neuroscience shows that emotional intelligence is linked to the activity of the amygdala and the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. These regions of the brain play a key role in regulating emotions and making decisions based on social interactions. By developing emotional intelligence, individuals can improve their resilience, empathy, and ability to manage stress. Let's talk about creativity and innovation. Creativity and innovation are essential for solving problems in original ways. However, our educational system tends to suppress creativity by promoting conformity and rote learning. Imagine Sophie, a a creative student who loves to invent stories and draw. At school, her talents are not valued, and she is encouraged to focus on traditional academic subjects. As a result, Sophie loses confidence in her creativity and begins to doubt her abilities. Neuroscience shows that creativity is associated with the activation of several regions of the brain, including the prefrontal cortex, parietal cortex, and default mode network. These regions are involved in divergent thinking, the ability to generate new ideas and to see problems from different angles. By encouraging creativity, we can help individuals develop innovative skills and solve problems in original ways. In the 1960s, NASA conducted a fascinating study aimed at understanding and exploiting the nature of creativity, leading to one of the most revealing discoveries about the decline of creative genius in children as they age. Led by Dr. George Land and Beth Jarman, the study was initially designed to assess the creativity of potential NASA engineers and scientists. However, Land and Jarman were so intrigued by the results that they decided to test a group of 1,600 children aged 3 to 5 to see how their creativity would evolve over time. The initial results were astonishing. 98% of the young children tested were classified as creative geniuses. However, when these same children were retested at the age of 10, the percentage of those considered creative geniuses dropped to 30%. Worse still, at 15 years old, only 12% maintained this level of creativity. Finally, among adults tested, only 2% continued to display a level of creative genius. This dramatic decline in creativity with age raised important questions about the impact of traditional education. According to Dr. Land, the educational system plays a significant role in this decline. Schools, with their emphasis on convergent thinking, judgment, and evaluation at the expense of divergent thinking, creativity, and new ideas, tend to stifle children's innate creative abilities. By forcing children to use these two conflicting types of thinking simultaneously, the educational system creates a situation where creativity is often repressed. Land explained that this phenomenon is partly due to massive industrialization and the evolution of education to train efficient factory workers. The emphasis on finding the right answer at the expense of exploring multiple possible solutions leads to a reduction in the ability to think creatively. This linear and structured approach to learning promotes immediate critical thinking of each new idea, which, according to Land, diminishes the brain's cognitive power and creativity. However, there is hope for reviving this lost creativity. Land emphasizes that creative ability never completely disappears. It remains latent and can be reactivated by specific practices, by reducing judgment, criticism, and censorship, and encouraging more divergent and imaginative thinking. It is possible to rediscover and cultivate the creative genius of childhood. Practical exercises, stimulation through creative environments, and encouragement to dream and explore without fear of failure are effective ways to achieve this. George Land's study, often presented in his TEDx talks, remains a pressing call for educational reform that prioritizes creativity. It highlights the need to revise educational structures to foster an environment where divergent thinking can flourish. If we want to prepare future generations to innovate and adapt to a constantly changing world, it is imperative to reintegrate creativity into educational curricula from an early age. Land's research clearly shows that the suppression of creativity is not inevitable. By adopting pedagogical methods that value originality and free critical thinking, it is possible not only to preserve, but also to develop the natural creativity that young children possess. His work continues to inspire educators and parents around the world, encouraging them to find and nurture the creative genius that lies within every child. Thus, what this study teaches us is that the key to maintaining and developing creativity lies in how we structure our education and value children's natural abilities to imagine and innovate. This requires a paradigm shift from a rigid and evaluative educational model to a more flexible and exploratory model, where every idea, even the most far-fetched, has its place and importance in the learning process. Now, let's talk about the focus on memorization rather than understanding. Traditional assessment methods, such as multiple choice exams and memorization tests, promote rote memorization rather than deep understanding. This can limit students' ability to apply knowledge in real-world contexts. Imagine Pierre, a student who has spent hours memorizing historical dates for an exam. He passes the exam with flying colors, but when asked to explain the importance of these events in a broader context, he is unable to do so. Pierre realizes that although he has memorized a lot of information, he has not developed a deep understanding of the subject studied. Neuroscience shows that rote memorization primarily activates short-term neural circuits, while deep understanding engages broader and more durable neural networks. By promoting learning through understanding, we can improve information retention and the ability to apply knowledge flexibly. Let's talk about impact of academic failure on self-esteem and motivation. Academic failure can have a profound impact on students' self-esteem and motivation. Neuroscience shows that repeated failure can activate the amygdala, a region of the brain associated with fear and stress. This can lead to a decrease in self-confidence and motivation. Imagine Paul, a student who has always struggled with mathematics. Every year, he fails math exams and receives negative feedback from his teachers. Each failure reinforces his sense of incompetence and frustration. He begins to avoid math classes and gradually loses confidence in his academic abilities in general. This impact on his self-esteem spills over into other areas of his life, limiting his overall potential. Neuroscience shows that repeated failure can activate the amygdala, creating a fight or flight response. This chronic activation can lead to a decrease in self-confidence and motivation, creating a vicious cycle where the student avoids challenges to avoid feeling the pain of failure. However, it is important to understand that failure can be an extremely valuable learning experience. As Winston Churchill said, success is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. Indeed, failure can strengthen resilience and the ability to persevere in the face of obstacles. In other words, the only way to succeed in life is to never lose your enthusiasm each time you have a learning experience. As you can see, my formulation excludes the word failure. It is a word associated with negative emotions. Considering the non-achievement of a goal as a failure is actually the most effective way to never succeed. Because your brain, as fond as it is of positive sensations, will do everything it can to prevent you from repeating an experience that brought it pain, displeasure, or dissatisfaction. The word failure, a small assembly of 7 seemingly innocent letters, is itself a self-fulfilling prophecy. It is one of the words I urgently call to be removed from the dictionary. Those conceiving dictionaries will undoubtedly have difficulty considering this request, which seems essential and scientifically grounded to me. So I don't think we can trust them to help us achieve this revolution. But the good news is that we can write our own dictionaries. You must resolutely and consciously remove this word and other similar words from your vocabulary. To further demonstrate the necessity of this, did you know that emotions are not universal? You heard me right. There are emotions that are only felt in certain parts of the world. Because we are not born with our emotions, we create them ourselves. The people around us create our emotions. The society we live in shapes our emotions. The theory of the universality of emotions has been discredited. You only feel an emotion if you know it exists. Isn't that magical? This means that if you didn't know the word anxiety, for example, you would never feel anxious. The idea that emotions are constructed by the brain is supported by rigorous scientific work such as that of Lisa Feldman Barrett. To borrow from Lisa Feldman, who is a neuroscientist and one of the world's leading experts on emotions, and who wrote the best-selling book How Emotions Are Made: The Secret Life of the Brain, she confirms that emotions are not universal biological responses, but constructions based on past experiences and cultural contexts. This means that if we eliminate certain words from our vocabulary, we could surprisingly eliminate the negative emotions associated with those words. Let's take a practical example. Imagine a student who fails an exam. In our current society, this failure is often associated with feelings of shame, frustration, and devaluation. But what would happen if we changed our perspective and vocabulary? Instead of saying, "I failed," the student could say, "I achieved a delayed success," or "I need more effort." By changing the words, we change the perception of the event and thus the emotion felt. Research has shown that the words we use strongly influence our perception of the world and our emotional state. A study conducted by Claudia Haase and her colleagues demonstrated that older people who used positive terms to describe their aging experiences had better mental and physical health than those who used negative terms. This shows the profound impact of language on our well-being. To illustrate this point, I would like to share a personal experience. I almost became a victim of this trap myself. It was after being around someone who was very anxious that I, almost miraculously, began to feel anxiety. Had it not been for the fact that I am immersed every day in analyzing how the human brain works, I would have remained in this trap. But by understanding that anxiety was a construction of my mind, influenced by my environment, I was able to, mutatis mutandis, regain control and eliminate this negative emotion simply by changing my vocabulary and perspective and everything that goes with it. Remove these words from your vocabulary. For example, instead of saying I failed, say I partially succeeded, or I need to put in more effort. Instead of saying I am anxious, say I am vigilant, or I am prepared. These linguistic changes may seem minor, but they have a huge impact on your mindset and emotional well-being. In conclusion to this digression, as I had not planned to make this parenthesis on emotions, at least not in this episode, the words we use are powerful. They shape our emotions, influence our perception of the world, and determine our overall well-being. By eliminating negative words like failure from our vocabulary and replacing them with more positive and constructive terms, we can reprogram our brains to see obstacles not as failures, but as opportunities for growth and delayed success. Let's adopt this linguistic and neuroscientific revolution to improve our daily lives and achieve our full potential. Now that we have explored the inherent problems of the traditional educational system, let's move on to the solutions. These techniques are based on cutting-edge research in neuroscience, psychology, and decision science. They will help you reprogram your brain to overcome obstacles, maximize your potential, and transform every failure into an opportunity for success. Failure is often perceived as an end in itself, but in reality, it is an essential step in the learning process. Neuroscience teaches us that failure activates specific areas of the brain associated with learning and adaptation. To change your perception of failure, start by seeing every setback as a learning opportunity. When you fail, your brain reacts by activating the dopamine reward system, which strengthens the neural connections associated with learning new skills. To do this, I suggest a technique I call the failure journal. Every evening, write down 3 failures you encountered during the day. For each failure, write down what you learned and how you can improve. Review these entries regularly to see your progress and transformations. Imagine an entrepreneur who fails to secure funding. By using the failure journal, he identifies the gaps in his pitch, the skills he needs to improve, and plans how to approach his next pitch differently. Resilience is the ability to bounce back after a failure. Research shows that resilience can be strengthened through specific techniques. One of these techniques is positive visualization. Every morning, spend 5 minutes visualizing a difficult situation you successfully overcame. Focus on the positive emotions you felt after overcoming this challenge. For example, a student visualizes his success after failing an exam. By seeing himself succeed, he strengthens his confidence and motivation for future exams. Developing critical thinking is crucial for evaluating information objectively and making informed decisions. Neuroscience shows that critical thinking activates the prefrontal cortex, a brain area associated with decision-making and executive control. To do this, use the Socratic questioning technique. Identify a belief or hypothesis you have. Ask yourself deep and relevant questions to explore this belief. For example, a manager questions his belief that meetings are always productive. By asking questions, he discovers alternative methods to improve his team's productivity. Neuroscience shows that problem solving can be improved through specific techniques that stimulate the brain. Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats method is a practical technique for improving problem solving. Focus on data and facts with the white hat. Express your emotions and intuitions with the red hat. Identify risks and problems with the black hat. Explore benefits and opportunities with the yellow hat. Stimulate creativity with the green hat. Coordinate and manage the process with the blue hat. Another technique is the mind mapping exercise. This visual tool helps organize thoughts and information in a non-linear way, thus promoting a more holistic and creative understanding of problems. Start by writing the problem or main topic in the center of a sheet of paper. Add branches for each related idea or aspect. Then develop each branch with sub-ideas. This helps visualize the relationships between different parts of a problem and generate new solutions. Managing emotional intelligence is also crucial. Neuroscience shows that our ability to manage our emotions has a direct impact on our performance and well-being. Mindfulness meditation is a powerful technique for improving emotional intelligence. Each day, take a few minutes to focus on your breathing and observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment. This helps develop better self-awareness and manage emotions more effectively. Learning to identify and name emotions is another effective technique. When you feel an emotion, take a moment to recognize and name it. For example, if you feel stressed, say to yourself, "I feel stressed." This simple action activates the prefrontal cortex, which helps regulate the emotion and reduce its intensity. To foster creativity and innovation, it is essential to create an environment that encourages experimentation and risk-taking. Neuroscience shows that creativity is often stifled by the fear of failure and the desire for conformity. Encourage risk-taking by valuing mistakes as learning opportunities. Create a space where ideas can be freely shared without fear of judgment. A practical technique is divergent brainstorming, where participants are encouraged to generate as many ideas as possible without criticizing or evaluating them. This allows creativity to be unleashed and innovative solutions to be discovered. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reshape and reorganize itself in response to experience, plays a key role in learning and personal growth. To take advantage of neuroplasticity, it is important to maintain a continuous learning attitude and actively seek new experiences. Learn new skills, explore new fields, and expose yourself to different perspectives. For example, learn a new language, take an online course, or participate in cultural activities. These experiences stimulate the brain, strengthen neural connections, and foster innovation. Breaks between learning sessions are also crucial for memory consolidation. Neuroscience shows that the brain continues to process and strengthen learned information during rest periods. After an intense learning session, take a 10 to 15-minute break to allow your brain to consolidate new knowledge. During this break, avoid stimulating activities and prefer relaxing activities like walking, meditation, or listening to soft music. Sleep plays a vital role in memory consolidation and learning. Make sure you get enough sleep each night to allow your brain to process and store the information learned during the day. Neuroscience shows that deep sleep is particularly important for declarative memory consolidation, while REM sleep is crucial for procedural memory consolidation and creativity. Adopt a regular sleep routine and create a sleep-friendly environment by limiting exposure to blue light before bedtime, maintaining a comfortable temperature in the bedroom, and using relaxation techniques to promote falling asleep. To maximize learning and knowledge retention, it is also important to vary learning methods. Neuroscience shows that using different learning modalities, such as reading, listening, writing, and practical experimentation, activates different areas of the brain and strengthens neural connections. For example, if you are learning a new skill, combine reading manuals, listening to podcasts, taking notes, and actively practicing to improve retention and understanding. Spaced repetition is another effective technique for strengthening memory and learning. Neuroscience shows that reviewing information at regular intervals helps consolidate long-term knowledge. Use flashcard apps or planned revision techniques to review information at increasing intervals. For example, after learning new information, review it after 1 day, then after 1 week, then after 1 month. This technique helps transfer information from short-term memory to long-term memory. Active learning, which involves actively engaging in the learning process rather than simply passively receiving information, is also crucial for maximizing learning. Neuroscience shows that active learning activates specific areas of the brain associated with understanding and knowledge retention. Participate in discussions, ask questions, teach what you have learned to someone else, and apply knowledge in practical contexts to strengthen your learning. Finally, it is important to cultivate a growth mindset, the belief that your abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort and learning. Neuroscience shows that a growth mindset activates areas of the brain associated with motivation and resilience. Adopt a positive attitude towards learning, see challenges as opportunities for growth, and persevere in the face of obstacles. For example, instead of saying, "I'm not good at math," say, "I can improve in math with practice and effort." This mindset fosters learning, motivation, and long-term success. In short, to escape the trap of traditional education and maximize your potential, it is essential to redefine your perception of failure, cultivate critical thinking, develop emotional intelligence, foster creativity, take advantage of neuroplasticity, vary learning methods, practice spaced repetition and active learning, and adopt a growth mindset. These techniques, based on cutting-edge research in neuroscience and psychology, will help you reprogram your brain to overcome obstacles, maximize your potential, and transform every failure into an opportunity for delayed success. Don't say failure anymore. Say delayed success. Use these tools to develop, innovate, and achieve your personal and professional goals. And remember, as long as you are alive, you are in the best school there is, life. Learning is a continuous journey. Every day is a new opportunity to learn, grow, and improve. By adopting these techniques and integrating these practices into your daily life, you can transform the way you learn and succeed. The key to success lies in your ability to adapt, innovate, and persevere. With the right strategies and a growth mindset, you can overcome challenges, achieve your goals, and realize your full potential. Keep learning, exploring, and developing, and you will discover that the true power lies within you. Subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming episodes. Ask questions, share your opinions. Remember, knowledge is power, but wisdom is knowing how to use it. Now you've got the knowledge, be wise. And with that, I sincerely thank you for your scientific curiosity, and may science elevate your decisions.